Greg Kemble here. I'm Yuba College's Academic Senate President. I'm a Guided Pathways lead, and I'm a part of the Guided Pathways work group at the college. One of the things we've heard from a number of people is that while there are quite a few of us who've been exploring guided pathways for a while, there are also quite a few of us who have not been, and who still have some basic questions like what is this guided pathways thing and why are we even talking about it? So we decided to put together a short series of short videos to try to address these questions. So in this video, I'll give a brief overview of what the Guided Pathways framework is and why we should be interested. In future videos, numbers 2 through 5, we'll look at each of the 4 pillars of the Guided Pathways framework, and then in the 6th and last video, I'll talk a little bit about opportunities, challenges, concerns that swirl around the Guided Pathways framework. Okay, so what are guided pathways? Well, in some ways that's a trick question. For one thing, we already have a bunch of things that qualify as guided pathways. The checklist of things that students need to do to apply to the college, that's a guided pathway. A list of courses that lead to an automotive degree, that is a guided pathway. Associate's degree of transfer, which offer fairly clear paths for students to transfer to CSU with junior status. Yeah, that's a pathway. But we're talking about something bigger here. When we talk about guided pathways, we're not just talking about these individual pathways. We're talking about a framework, the Guided Pathways framework. And by framework, we mean a way of organizing the institution, the whole college, around students' experiences, building on what we're already doing well and improving those things that we just aren't doing so well, and doing it at scale. That's a phrase that comes up often, at scale. That means for all students, not just for students who happen to fit in various silos. So it's not just about creating lists of classes that lead to a goal, though creating clear roadmaps is part of the process. It's about starting conversations with students right away about their career goals and how our college will fit that. For those who aren't sure what their goals are, it's about designing ways for them to explore possibilities without having to start over once they make their decision. It's about supporting students from the moment they show interest in us to the moment they leave us. So, why are we thinking about this? Well, there are a number of reasons. The least interesting is that this is the direction the state is moving. And that means there will be carrots and sticks tied to this. So one of the carrots, and this is already in play, is funding. And one of the sticks is that colleges that don't participate, sign on to the Guided Pathways framework, cannot participate, for example, in the California Promise program, which is a program in which first-time, full-time students get free tuition for the first year. The state chancellor is pushing it. The legislature is pushing it. AB 705, which among other things pushes for acceleration in English and math. These are aligned with guided pathways. It's the direction the state is moving. A more interesting reason, at least to me, is that our students' outcomes are not meeting their stated goals. So here's a graphic. You may have seen this floating around the campus. There are a lot of parts to it, but I want to focus on one aspect. The majority of our students say they want to transfer. 56% said that. Or they want an associate's degree. 69% said that. Yet of the almost 1,000 students who enrolled in classes in fall 2009, only 7% of our students had met that goal within 6 years. 7%. Now, we can raise all kinds of objections to the data. Do we know how many got their degree within 7 years or 10? How many of these students are just checking the box on the application? When they apply, do they even know what they're saying when they say they want to transfer or to have an associate's degree? But in the end, for me at least, the question has to be, am I satisfied that 7% of the students who enrolled in 2009 transferred or had a degree within 6 years? Is that evidence that we are fulfilling our commitments to our students? Now, that does not naturally lead to guided pathways, but another reason for embracing them is the success that they've had across the nation. So here's a chart from Georgia State University, who've been working with guided pathways for a decade or so. There are two things that are notable here. First, the graduation rate for all three groups improved significantly. But second, and for those of us who are interested in student equity, this is really significant. The achievement gap flipped. So, in 2003, whites graduated at a higher rate than both African Americans and Hispanics. In 2016, African Americans and Hispanics graduated at a higher rate than whites. All groups improved. But those who were previously disproportionately impacted improved enough to flip the achievement gap, and they credit guided pathways for this shift. Of course, this is only one college's experience, and since guided pathways as a movement is relatively new, the data are still somewhat limited in many cases, but they are promising. Now, I'd like to close this video with a concept, a way of thinking about this guided pathways framework that I found really useful. The guided pathways framework encourages us to stop expecting our students to be college ready and to make our college student ready. Now, we know that many, probably the majority of our students are not college ready. We know that most of them are testing in well below college level math and English. We know many have struggled to get through high school, or they've been out of school for 10 years. For many of them, they're the first students in their family to go to college. Many are working full-time jobs, sometimes plural, as well as raising families, sometimes on their own. If we act like these students are college ready, or that they should somehow figure out how to be college ready, we're just in denial. The Guided Pathways framework helps us to serve our students where they are. A few years back, when we as an institution were really struggling with severe budget cuts, I often heard people refer to a sign that I think was hanging in one of the counselors' offices that read something like, "Think student, then decide." The Guided Pathways framework is really a way to institutionalize that idea. Think student, then decide. All right. I hope I've been able to give a high-level overview of what this Guided Pathways framework is and a little bit about why we should be interested in it. There's a lot more to say, but I'm not creating a documentary. The next videos will focus on each of the 4 pillars of Guided Pathways, which will let me go into a little more detail about the framework itself. And then I'll wrap up discussing some opportunities, challenges, and concerns. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, gkemble@yccd.edu. I'll probably pass it along to whoever the Guided Pathways lead is in your area. Of course, that might be me, but hopefully we can answer those questions. Hopefully some of them will be answered over the next few videos. Okay? See ya.